name is Kate McMahon, and thank you for joining us today for the gallery. And I'm very excited to introduce you to Lou Schwartz. And Lou is a member of the Visual Artists Cooperative and a photographer.
Thanks, Kate. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. So can you tell us a little bit about your medium and your path as an artist?
Well, I've been photographing for over 60 years. During the course of time, I've studied with various photographers and institutions in New York City. I have a great interest not only in the image-making aspects, but also the history and aesthetics. So I'm totally absorbed by photography on pretty much a daily basis.
That's great. And when you do your art, do you stay geographically in one place? Do you like to travel?
Well, my art doesn't require travel. I like to work on very long-term projects. So once I kind of get a vibe going, I like to stay put and see how much I can do, and that typically takes years.
Oh,
so
years?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, this series behind us now is in its 4th year, and I feel I'm just kind of getting up to speed.
Can you share with us in the audience a little bit of history on this piece?
Well, this whole series is of hosta leaves after the growing season. So the photographs are all made, say, between November and March, when they're on the ground. They're in the process of becoming soil again. Mm-hmm. So originally I got interested in that idea because old people deserve some recognition in the arts. Old things, I don't think beauty is the exclusive provenance of youth. So we have something to say too.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the hosta leaves, it turns out, once they begin to decay, reveal an incredible lattice work of veins. And I do work in black and white, but incredible colors, which I had to remove for my purposes. They are more complex and delicate than any leaf you're going to find on the ground. And
gorgeous.
The lines, as you can see, are quite lyrical. So I've been working away at it. I think there's 160 images now that I like. This is the 13th, so it's probably from 2 years ago, but it's one I'm exhibiting now. And I don't feel I'm done with them yet. I think they still speak to me.
They're beautiful, and you're right, it's very intricate. I believe you said lattice work.
Yeah, definitely,
leaves.
Definitely.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
We appreciate having you.
I'm glad to be here.
Have a great day. Well, thank you for being here today, Heather. It's great to have you. Heather Mackenzie, she's an artist that works in a variety of mediums, and I was hoping that you could share with us a little bit about your path in your artwork.
Well, thank you. I've always enjoyed art from a young age, but I ended up studying photography at Mass Art and was able to enjoy that and learn cinematography. But I love photography and love water, and of course being surrounded by water on Cape Cod is a natural subject to gravitate to and explore. And I do it with my photography and also with my art. It's mostly a subject matter that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And as you can see in this this abstract, it's really just a natural photography picture. I haven't done anything digitally to it. It was just at a pier, and it looks just very striking. And I love the interaction of light and on the image, and just the colors and everything. Just something that I really thought was nice to display here.
I like it a lot.
But I've really enjoyed watercolor all my life too, from a young age, And I also paint on my photographs because I have a printer where I can photograph and then manipulate or just make a straight print. And then on some of my photographs, I paint on top of them. So I make a different kind of painting and it's a different kind of art. And I extend it and add something to it that wasn't there already.
That's great. You're able to use your mind's eye in a different way from what you originally saw.
Yeah, and I add to it.
This is a great piece. It's nice and bright and reminds us of how lucky we are to be by the water.
And this particular day I went out with friends. Some friends had a boat and they took myself and my husband out in the water. And my friend now has passed, so it's especially reminds me of that wonderful day that we went out and enjoyed.
Wonderful.
We went clamming and just had such a great time.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Wonderful reminder.
And I call this stirring the blue. You know,
Stirring the blue.
Just
Gorgeous.
Anyway,
Very peaceful.
we make art, and I hope one of the things that I want my art to do is to connect with people. I think that when I make an image, whether it's a photography image or a painting, I want people to be touched by it or have a feeling from it, and I want them to connect to it like I do.
That's wonderful. That's why I enjoy art.
Yeah, I think that that's why everybody does.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
Very well, Kate. How are you?
Great, thank you. Christine Fitzsimmons, and she is here as part of our gallery for the next couple of months, and welcome very much.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
So can you share with us a little bit your path and your artwork?
I've always been interested in art since a young age and studied art in high school and college. I went to Kendall College of Art and Design, and there I studied interior design and painting. And then I advanced my studies after that at the Center for Creative Studies in Detroit and really immersed myself in painting. So as I evolved, I kind of phased out of the design part of my life and really just started to paint.
That's great.
And the piece behind me is a technique, using a technique that I created back in the 80s when I was studying hardline painting and became very frustrated that I didn't have the skill set to really be terrific at it. So I started stitching my canvases and then stretching and gessoing them so I get a really tight line. And I love it. I mean, it's a lot of fun to work with. It's what I've pursued ever since then. And I actually was issued a U.S. patent on that technique, which has expired, of course. But I use that technique exclusively.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Seen that on, we've been fortunate enough to
Yes.
have many of your pieces here. And I think I see it on the majority of them, right?
All
the
of
straight
them.
line?
Yeah, all of them. Sometimes a curved line, but always a stitched edge.
Yeah, absolutely. Gorgeous. And what inspired this painting in particular?
This piece is part of the show that we're doing now at the gallery, and it's titled Hidden Images. And as I was looking at a sunrise after a storm, I really got this interesting sense of color under the water as well as the sky. And I captured that in this painting, and I really wanted people to look, when they look at the painting, to just really study the depth of what's there rather than a quick glance at, oh, that's a sunrise. Or maybe it doesn't even come off like that. But there's a lot that happens under the surface, not only in the water, but as Lou expressed in his photographs with the plants and in other, all the things in our life. It's just a chance to look deeper and become more involved in what we're looking at.
Well, it is beautiful, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we've got Ruthie Hausinger with us, and Ruthie is an exhibitor in our show in the gallery right now, and it's titled Beneath the Surface, the show is.
Yes.
And you are also one of the folks that curated the show, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful to have you. So can you share with us a little bit about your love of art and how it has developed?
It began as photography, and I've actually taken pictures for the majority of my life, but did not get the chance to become a true artist, though, until I retired, which was about 8 years ago. And then I began to do photography more seriously, and was fortunate enough to join a local gallery and have some of my art shown there. And over the years, in the last few years, I have transitioned, or in addition to, I should say, I've expanded into painting, collage, mixed media. I found that there was so much more to explore and express, and there are just no limits, no limits. I think it was John Muir who said, imagination makes us infinite. So if you can imagine it, there's no limit.
It's wonderful. So we have a beautiful piece here today that you're actually showing in the gallery.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about this?
This is titled Attitude. It started out as something totally different. There's actually another entire painting underneath it. And I decided to try something different. And at the time I was taking a class with, and the teacher of mine had stressed more composition and structure. So I had completely finished it, then came home and realized it was all wrong. So I gave it more structure, a little more everything. In fact, more attitude, hence the name, the title. So many of the things that I start out with go through transitions in the process. And I think that plays into the name of the show, Beneath the Surface, because you might expect something, but what comes out is totally different, and most of the time much better.
So for a novice like me, I can barely tie my shoe, let alone create any art. What does the term structure mean?
Structure and composition, there are certain guidelines that all art should have. It should be interesting, and the elements that make it interesting would be structure, composition, color, various elements that draw your attention in, but also move your attention through the whole painting so you don't get stuck in one place, so it's not boring, so you don't look at it once and go, okay, I've seen the whole thing.
I see.
It makes it interesting enough for you to want to continue looking at it and notice all of the elements within it. So it should be harmonious, whatever that might mean to you individually. And I also do believe that when you look at art, it should evoke something from you. You should feel something in it. Hopefully it would be pleasant.
Well, it sure is a beautiful piece, and thanks for having it here in our gallery.
Thank you very much.
Robyn Litwin, welcome to the gallery. Very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Kate. I'm happy to be back. It's great.
Brought this wonderful piece with you, and we'll get to talk about that in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But can you tell us a little bit about your art and your background?
Sure. My mom was an artist, and my grandfather was a photographer, so I feel like I was surrounded by art. My background is in photography, and I just started painting and doing mixed media work and collage about 8 years ago. But I taught photography at a high school in Cambridge for 25 years, and I did video production as well. And then they asked me to teach mixed media, so I had this opportunity to really jump into something that I was interested but hadn't done too much of. So that has been sort of a incredible opportunity for me. To design and implement a mixed media class, and then
have to do all these things that I was constantly learning from my students and trying to, create things that would be interesting and innovative for them. And in that process, I was able to really inform my work with all sorts of different techniques.
Great. Almost working alongside them.
Yeah. My
learning.
students inspired me every day. I mean, they would ask me questions, or they would approach their work in ways that I would never have thought of. And so it was just amazing interchange of ideas that was always going on. And I had a lot of writing in my classes as well, so it was very rich.
That's great.
Opportunity.
That's great. We've had quite a few interns here at the Media Center, and it's always so fun to see the passion and the excitement.
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
They have.
absolutely. Yeah,
It's wonderful.
I feel very lucky.
Yeah, very much so. So this is absolutely gorgeous. I love
Thank
this.
you.
Can you share with us a little bit about this piece?
Well, this is a whole series that I've been working on, and I call it Journey, for lack of a better title, because it really is a journey, and it came from a prompt that Norma Much, who sadly passed away recently, but she was an abstract art teacher and friend and Visual Artists Cooperative member. And she just put up a couple of slides and said, work from this. And so this whole series started from that one prompt. And I just became so interested in it. And what I saw in it was perhaps not what the artist that did it saw in it, but it sort of became these figures that were swirling and a lot of movement. And so I've been having fun with, I got a Lazy Susan from the thrift store, and I mounted my paintings onto it and spun it, and then just dripped the ink and the, paint. So I just want it to feel like there are layers and movement and energy and mystery. So they're all different, and they all have a lot of layers going on in them of different media.
So you had mentioned that there was graphite pencil.
Yeah. So some of these will start with literally just random scribbles with graphite and Conte crayon and ink and all sorts of things, and then I'll add more layers and scratch away, and I work with paper and I gesso it a bunch, so I'll put like 5 or 6 coats of gesso on it, so it's got a lot of tooth to it, and that comes through in the paintings. You can kind of see a lot of texture from the gesso. So
It's beautiful.
I like working on paper because it feels like it's not such a commitment as a canvas. It's just paper. So it's very freeing for me.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
great.
And I work on multiple pieces at the same time. So they're all, I probably have 10 or 12 from this series. And I'm sure that I'm going to keep going with it.
And that you work on simultaneously?
I'll work on 3 or 4 at the same time. Yeah. Yeah.
That's dividing your thought into quite a few different boxes there.
Well, I like working in a series.
I see.
And I find that actually Mary Moquin is another teacher of mine, and she really helped me because she said, I said, Mary, I feel like I'm a bee. I just go from one thing to the next to the next. I'm so excited. And she said, well, you can work on a lot of things, but not all at the same time. So work in a series. So ever since then, I have worked in a series. So I started out with pears, and then I went into flowers, and then I'm doing a series, an encaustic series about my father, and then this one, and now I'm working on another abstract series. So I find that when I work in a series, I can really go deep into it, and if I'm not working on one piece, I don't get too invested in it. And then it's when you get really invested in a piece that you start to overthink it.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to know when they're finished. I just keep going until I'm not sure, and then I stick it up on my on my Homosoap board and I just live with it for a while. And
Walk
sometimes
away
it'll be
and-
3 months and I'll go, that's what it needs.
Isn't that
It just
great?
needs that element. So,
All of a sudden it pops in.
yeah, yeah. So it's
It's wonderful.
it's a really fun process. I think this one is sort of surprising for me because a lot of my work is it's sort of safer and more pleasing and not dark and mysterious and sort of scary. And this one's a little dark and mysterious and scary, so I'm happy that I did it because it's like a departure.
Well, it is dark, but there are some very pretty bright colors in there
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So-
thank you so much for being
Well,
with us.
Kate, thank you. I really enjoy the opportunity to talk about art with you
Thank you.
and be in the media center as well with everybody else. So thanks.
Thank you.